All right, let's talk about everything that I read in July. I'm Nora McInerny. I am an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a podcaster. I make these fun little videos from time to time where I sit down and I talk about everything that I read and loved for the entire month. July was kind of an unusual month. I didn't work this month. More on that in another video. I've written about it over on my Substack as well, but the team took a month off, 4 weeks from the end of June to the end of July. I took a month off working. I did not take a month off of reading. In fact, I kind of lived my dream. I loaded up my Libby app and my NetGalley app with tons and tons of books, and I read in 9 different countries. We did other things as well, but I really did a lot of reading and I have some great books to share with you. First off, we have The Academy by Elin Hildenbrand and Shelby Cunningham, who is Elin Hildenbrand's daughter. What an honor to be the daughter of like the queen of the summer novel. I am an Elin head. I am a little bit of a late in life Elin head. I discovered her a few years ago because of my friend Caroline Moss, my best friend Caroline Moss, who is the ultimate Elin head. We were on a trip. I asked her what I should read. She said, have you read any Elin Hildenbrand? I said, I don't even know where to start. She said, you're not going to start at the beginning. You're going to start where I tell you to. And I was instantly hooked. Elin Hildenbrand, though, she just retired. She just retired from the Nantucket novels that made her a household name, and she has a new career, and it's this. This is I wouldn't call it sort of a thriller. This is YA. I am an A, but I am not Y anymore. I am in my 40s. I'm probably not the target demographic, but Elin wrote this book with her daughter who went to a boarding school. It takes place at a boarding school. It is mysterious at times, like a little bit thrilling, but it really does what Elin Hildenbrand does best, which is layer a lot of points of view and a lot of plot and wrap it up in a really luxurious environment, which in this case is a middling East Coast boarding school. And all of the classic Hildenbrand dynamics come into play, you know, sex, class dynamics, friendship, and people ultimately being more than what they appear to be. So this is a new era for Elin Hildenbrand, and I am present, I am in attendance, and I am here for it. Sunny Side Up by Katie Sturino is a summer book, baby. This is a summer novel. Technically, I believe it's a romance, but it is a story that feels a lot as a Katie Sturino fan, somebody who follows Katie Sturino as, you know, a business owner. She started Megababe as, you know, an influencer, as a body neutrality influencer, somebody who knows like the broad strokes of Katie Sturino's story. This felt like fiction imitating life a little bit. But the main character is named Sunny. She is, you know, a high-powered businesswoman living in the big city of New York City. She is a successful publicist. She is also reeling from a divorce that has, of course, decimated her self-esteem. She lives in a bigger body. She has an idea for a business, which is swimsuits that are hot, cute, and built for bigger bodies. Of course, right away, we got a love triangle. There is the hot, older investor, and there's kind of like a folksy mailman. You know, I love it. I love it. Switching gears entirely, let's talk about another trauma memoir, baby. I have a type when it comes to memoir. I saw this on NetGalley and I said, I'm going to have to read this one. It is called Ring of Salt by Betsy Cornwell. It is a memoir about this author's journey. Betsy Cornwell is in her early 20s when she leaves America, leaves behind her family and, you know, abusive dynamics to run away to Ireland's Aran Islands, which are notoriously very magical. It is there that she meets, I mean, what seems like the man of her dreams. We're talking a hot Irish farmer. Okay, who amongst us? Who amongst us would not be, you know, swept away by such a Prince Charming? Coincidentally, Betsy is also an aspiring novelist. She ends up writing a bunch of YA books that are based on fairy tales and, you know, truly believes like she has found her fairy tale. Not so much. Not so much. So this is the story about a woman leaving an abusive marriage and building her own ring of salt, building her own safety for herself and her son. She's a beautiful writer. She just evokes the beauty of Ireland so well. And her story is really inspiring. And I think a lot of people will resonate with it and really enjoy it. Have you guys heard of F. Scott Fitzgerald? You guys ever heard of The Great Gatsby? Because guess what? I reread it. And somewhere out there, my honors English teacher, Mr. Courtney, is like, did someone say The Great Gatsby? Is Nora McInerny rereading The Great Gatsby? Does she remember the themes that we discussed in Honors English, Mr. Courtney? I do. And I got to say, those themes hit a little harder in the year 2025, a year of a lot of excess and a wider gap in income inequality than we ever thought possible back in 1998 in that classroom. It's actually kind of like the perfect summer book. It really is. So give it a reread. It's at your library. I guarantee it. Apparently I was on like a little bit of like a nostalgia kick because I followed up The Great Gatsby with The Bell Jar. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath is, I don't know, like the Bible for depressed girls everywhere. It was certainly my Bible after maybe freshman, sophomore year of college, probably both of them. I remember reading that book at home in my parents' house over the summer and thinking, yeah, you know what? Yeah, she's making a lot of good points. I did not know the word depression. I certainly didn't think that it could apply to me, a middle-aged white girl with no problems. And yet I was reading The Bell Jar and being like, yeah, that is what it feels like, huh? Now, as a much more healed adult, reading The Bell Jar is really hard. It's a hard read. It is a tough read. I wanted to like reach through time and space and the pages of this book and like save Sylvia Plath from herself. Of course, that is not possible, but may she rest in peace. You know, if only she had been born in an era with sertraline and cognitive behavioral therapy. You know, we can dream. Gear shift again. Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. This is not a new book. This is a great book. This is, I guess, technically a romance, but it does not feel like a romance in that it does not feel tropey. It just feels like what Curtis Sittenfeld does the best, which is just novels that really get at what it means to be a person in the world. Okay, you know that phenomenon where women who are like otherworldly beautiful, like just gorgeous, flawless women will marry guys who are medium ugly. And they say like, oh, he's so funny. Oh, he has such a good personality. And you're like, yeah. You know, like that's what falling in love is, right? But it just really never happens the other way around. You never see, or you so rarely see. You so rarely see that you would never see it, I would say. It's like, it's the statistical probability is so low that you would ever see like a hot, famous dude just like with like an average woman. Well, that's what romantic comedy is about. There is a comedy writer who works at like an SNL-esque show who clicks with one of the biggest, hottest male pop stars. And I don't know, it feels so real. It does not feel outlandish at all. It feels so realistic and wonderful. And I would literally read anything that Curtis Sittenfeld has written. And she knows that. Okay. And if she doesn't know it, now you know it, Curtis. I'd read anything you write. I want you to write me a letter every day. I would read it. Not enough people are talking about this memoir. This has to be, this is the best memoir I'm going to read this year. This might be one of the best books I'm going to read this year. And I am sure plenty of people are talking about it, and it just has not crossed my algorithm, has not crossed my desk, but everybody should be reading True Happiness Company by Veena Dinavahi. I am telling you about this memoir. Where do I even begin? I mean this in a complimentary way. It had me like crawling out of my skin. It had me pausing my reading, turning to my husband and being like, you won't believe this. I got to read something to you. You won't believe this. The subtitle of this book is How a Girl Like Me Falls for a Cult Like This. And I will tell you how it happens. It happens through manipulation. It happens through faith manipulation. It happens through coercive control. It happens through people being so desperate for an answer that they will listen to a charlatan. Not because they are foolish, but because you want to believe what people tell you. You want to believe when you are in pain or someone you love is in pain that somebody out there has the answer to your problems. Now, to be able to write about finding yourself in a high control religion and then definitely a cult and a very unpleasant, incompatible marriage with so much clarity and also like the right amount of humor is so very impressive. I cannot wait to see what this woman writes next, but go get The True Happiness Company by Veena Dinavahi, please. I'm begging you, I need to talk about it with somebody. Another gear shift. I love a thriller. I love a book that just like whisks me away and I don't have to think too hard. And, like that's how I read thrillers. I don't think too hard about a thriller. I just say like, okay, what's going to happen next? I'm not trying to figure out the plot twist. I just say, let the plot twist and let me ride it like a lazy river. The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine was, I guess, one of the biggest books of 2018. I'd never heard of it, but, again, I'll read any thriller. It was available on the Libby app. I guess several million readers can't be wrong. I don't typically talk about books that I don't love just because there's enough negativity in the world, but like, I don't know. I mean, maybe the world has changed a lot since 2018, but spending so much time with a deeply unlikable character only for the payoff to come like so late that it was just like, okay, I guess that was a twist. I just think The Great Gatsby did class commentary much better. And that is just one woman's opinion. All right. I already talked about Elin Hildenbrand, but I truly cannot get enough of this woman. Swansong is her very last Nantucket novel. She wrote 30, a lot. She wrote many, many, many novels that take place on Nantucket. And I know I should have read all of them before I read the final one, but I just couldn't wait any longer. I couldn't wait any longer. And I tore through this, and it was just like saying goodbye to old friends, fictional characters, and leaving a home that I can never return to, which is, an island that I've never once been to, but have read a bunch of novels taking place on. So she goes back to all those characters, and she really does wrap it up. She wraps it up so well and so beautifully. And again, I'm seated for her next act, but I just wanted to dip back into who Elin Hildenbrand used to be and what she used to do, because I appreciate her. I appreciate the art, and I appreciate that she gave us so much of it. All right, finally, I was on vacation, so I wanted to make myself good and angry. So I picked up Bad Company, Private Equity and the Death of the American Dream by Megan Greenwell. When I tell you that this book will radicalize you against private equity, so help me God, it will. It will. Another book that I was just, blood boiling, pausing, highlighting everything, pausing to read it out loud to my family, including my soon to be third grader who was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, well, you're going to find out. You're about to find out how private equity, it's just so maddening. So Megan Greenwell uses real life stories to illustrate how, and I'm going to quote her here, for an industry that is often held up as an exemplar of free market capitalism, private equity is surprisingly dependent on government subsidies for its profits. This book is something to read to remind yourself that we need so desperately to keep our eyes on class consciousness in this country, because it really is the 99% against the 1%. Okay. All right, so that is everything that I read in January, including several different rants. I'm looking at a pile of books right now that I'm ready to dig into for August, but I want to know what is on your reading list. I'm Nora McInerny. If you are a reader or a podcast listener, our podcast is Thanks for Asking. You can find episodes here, but you can also find them ad-free on our Substack, where I send out a weekly essay. I'm a writer, and I also send out a reading list like I just gave you every month. That also includes a book giveaway, because I get a lot of free books as an author and a book talker about her, and I can't keep them all. So we like to spread the wealth over there. It's linked in the show description. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Grace Berry for editing this, and we'll see you soon.